Did 10 year ago Melissa Davey ever in a million years see you doing what you're doing now?
No, I didn't even consider it until when I was 65. That's 9 years ago. That's the first time I considered the possibility that there was something else that I could do as opposed to what I was, doing.
Hello, you are listening to the Late Bloomer Living podcast. I'm Yvonne Marchese, your host, and I'm so happy you're here. I created this podcast to give you inspiration and let you know you're not alone in feeling stuck in midlife. I also invite you to join the Age Agitators Club for women, where we come together monthly to hatch our plans for making waves as we age. Being part of this community for women will remind you on a regular basis that you're not too old, and it's never too late to do that thing you've been thinking about. You can find more information at latebloomerliving.com/community, and I hope to see you there. Hello, my friend. Here's a fun little question for you. What would you do if you had a chance to reinvent yourself? Well, for filmmaker Melissa Davey, the answer for her at the age of 65 was to walk away from her secure and successful corporate career, follow her passion, and dive headfirst into documentary filmmaking. It wasn't that simple. She did some prep work, I'm just going to say, but that's the nut of what happened. Now, this is the second time that I have had the pleasure of talking with Melissa. The first time I had her on was for episode 103. If you decide you want to go back after this conversation today and hear all about that transition from her corporate career to becoming a documentary filmmaker, and I will have a link to that in the show notes for you. But today, I'm so excited. We are taking a behind-the-scenes look at her latest award-winning film titled Climbing into Life, which is currently on the film festival circuit and very soon will be distributed to all the streaming places where you might want to watch it. It's about the very inspiring story of Dierdre Wolownick, who is the oldest woman to climb El Capitan, and she's done it a couple of times. By the way, I also interviewed Dierdre Wolownick on the podcast, so you can check out that episode as well. That was episode 111. I'll have it. It's like a whole series. Oh, this is so exciting. Okay, Yvonne, rein it in. Back to today's conversation. I can't wait to get into this. This is for you if you've ever wondered what it takes to bring a passion project to life, or really simply how to start embracing your creativity at any age. You're in for a treat. So without further ado, here's Melissa Davey. Melissa, thank you so much for coming back to visit me.
It's great to be back again. Thank you.
Can you hear how
much.
excited I am to talk to you?
Yeah, exciting times.
So my goodness, the last time I talked to you, you were in post-production. You had, I think, already finished filming.
Right.
That was in 2022. It's now 2024. So you have been editing and doing post-production on this film, and it just got released this fall, correct? And is on the circuit of the film festival circuit?
I finished it in March of this year. But then I had to start applying. You submit to film festivals, and then you wait to hear from them. And they're all on different timetables. So you can wait months. Like I'm waiting now on several that will go months from now.
Yeah.
But that was the process. So we finished up in March, took a year and 10 months to do the film, edit the film, get it ready for, to be out there and to get into film festivals. So we just started that film festival circuit this summer in August. And we've been in a number so far, I think seven-ish so far. And we've gotten a few awards, which is like, it's pretty darn amazing. And the best part was in August, we got to do our premiere live screening at the Sacramento International Film Fest, which is where Dierdre lives. And where I filmed half of the film there in Yosemite. So she was there, her daughter was there, some of my crew, the climbing videographer, the assistant, friends, and other people that I interviewed for the film they were there. So,
Wow.
and we won outstanding documentary in that festival.
I just
So
saw that.
it was,
Congratulations.
thank you. So it was
Gosh.
perfect because she was there
Yeah.
and we all got to watch it together. And it was the first time that most people in the group had seen it. And then to win at the end was icing on the cake, so to speak.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Because here you are, you've got this reunion going. So the energy must have been like just incredible, just bringing
Yeah.
everybody back together and then to win on top
Yeah.
of it.
Yeah.
Wow.
It
Wow.
was awesome.
And for people to see what their contribution turned into, that
Yes.
must be amazing for people, right?
Yes. Yeah. Like the Garrett is the climbing videographer. And he had tears in his eyes. He was just like, wow.
Yeah.
I said, look what you did. Look what you were able to accomplish,
I'm getting tears in my
I
eyes just
know, I
thinking
know.
about it.
And
That's
it's just
incredible.
when you get to have the people that helped you birth the film together in the same place and watch it together, it's overwhelming.
Wow.
And it's wonderful. And it gives me a chance to thank them for helping me do what I love to do,
Yeah.
to tell women's stories. So yeah, it was great. And then we
Amazing.
just this past Sunday, I won Best Documentary at the Phoenixville Film Festival in Pennsylvania. And that was, I was so thrilled to be there because it was close to home. And, I thought, oh, I don't have to get on a plane to come to this one. How awesome. And it was a wonderfully run festival. It's only 2 years old, but the people in it are great. What they offered all the filmmakers was amazing. And I went there, on the awards night, just having 3 days of great fun, a perfect screening with lots of people that I knew that came to it. And really wasn't even thinking about an award because the films they had were so amazing. And I was picking out which one I would have chosen over my own. And they called out, Melissa Davey, Climbing into Life, Best Documentary.
Holy
And
cannoli.
I had a little trouble, making it compute for a second.
Yeah.
So it's just to know that people get what it is that you put out there is amazing. That's the feel. It's not that it is the most perfect film in the world, but the story is perfect. And the story's important. And when you see people in the audience tearing up and laughing when I laugh and, getting all of the oomph that you put into it, that you hope they get, and you see that makes all of it worthwhile. So yeah, and that's been happening everywhere. We were in North Carolina. We've been all over, LA, Toronto, and it's being received really well. So I'm happy about
Congratulations.
that.
I'm thinking about the travel and
Yeah.
your schedule, and I'm tired. I'm like, oh gosh.
Yeah, it's a bit much.
How old are you now, Melissa?
74.
That's what I thought. So you became a filmmaker when you were 65.
Right.
So going back, let's take you back 10 years. Did 10 years ago, Melissa Davey ever in a million years see you doing what you're doing now?
No, I didn't even consider it until when I was 65. That's 9 years ago. That's the first time I considered the possibility that there was something else that I could do, as opposed to what I was, doing corporate, which I could have stayed at. And I've said that 1,000 times, but I think it's important to remember that I worked for a company that was not ageist in any way. And that I left my job at 65 because I was in shock that I was that age. When I looked at the calendar, I was like, oh, what am I going to do now? I could have stayed. So it wasn't an issue. There are people there today that are in their 70s. But it was just that wake up of, well, what haven't I done? And if I do want to do anything else, I better hurry up.
Yeah.
And And that was the impetus to start thinking about, well, what are all the crazy ideas you've had in life that you didn't follow up on? And then just ask yourself why.
Mm.
There were a couple that were really like when I did want to play the saxophone and be in a band, but I don't read music. So even when I was 65 and I was thinking about, oh yeah, I could still be in a band. Well, if you don't read music, I wonder how long it takes to learn how to play
Mm.
music and then be proficient at playing an instrument. I mean, that could take years.
Yeah.
So I didn't think I had that much time, or maybe I thought and knew that I didn't have that much patience,
Mm.
that I really
Mm.
wanted to just jump into something and start doing it. Be an artist, have a podcast, write a book, all of the things that people think about when they get to be a certain age and they wonder, well, what's next? So, and
Yeah.
the film thing was just a fantasy from childhood. So I thought, well, that's reasonable. Anybody could really make a film. It might stink. Nobody might want to watch it, but really anybody could probably figure out how to do it.
I
And,
don't
and
know that that's
well,
true, but I love that that was your thought process. And I
yeah,
think that in and of itself is key, because if you can see yourself being able to do something, that's like so much a part of the game of actually,
yeah,
you've got to believe it,
right,
at least believe in the possibility of it, right?
right, right. And
And
remember, at 65, I'd had a lot of experience by then. I wasn't
yeah,
a 30-year-old. I was 65 sitting there thinking, oh, I'm really good at this. I built a division of a national company by myself with no experience.
right.
Now, I knew what the product was going to be, but I'd never done anything like that. And really, so jumping into something you've never done, we all do that all the time. So our very first jobs, and when we go to the next job, we may not know exactly how to do it, and we learn it along the way. And we
Mhm.
make mistakes. We fail sometimes and we learn and then we do it again and fix it. Same. So I figured, well, if I could do that, why couldn't I just make a movie? I was confident enough to know what I didn't know. And I think that's
Mhm.
the key. Make a list of all the things you don't know about filmmaking. And then how do you go get that so you can figure it out? So to me, it was rather logical. And that's how I approached it. And I took a year. I didn't just walk out of my job. I gave a year's notice so that I could mentor somebody to take that over because I was the one who had built it. And there was really nobody else in the company that understood it. Um, and then it was, that will give me time to figure out this first film and
And
how I'm
when,
going to do it.
ooh, so during, I don't think I ever asked you when we spoke last time, is during that year when you were prepping that new person to take over your role in corporate, did you use that same year to figure out anything for yourself on the filmmaking front?
Absolutely. By the time I walked out of the company, I'd already started my first 3 interviews. So
Wow.
it was safe. It was already in progress. And I knew that if I made that kind of a commitment to leave a comfortable job that was paying me and step into the unknown, I better plan it, just like you would in business, like you would
Mm-hmm.
plan anything you were going to develop. So when I left, I was already filmmaking. I had the production company with me. I had already done 3 interviews. I had already started to think about how I would put the film together and who the next people that I would interview would be.
Yeah,
So it was a very logically planned exit.
right. And you hired for the skills you didn't have, correct?
Yes.
Now that you've been doing this for a while, you are no longer a newbie filmmaker. What which of your skills from corporate and your life in general do you think have best served you as a filmmaker?
I think my ability to listen to people and then tell their story, that was always a part of my work. I was always dealing with huge international companies and telling them a story and framing it in a way that would make sense to them so that they would want to make sure that they bought my products and my services. And as a representative earlier for individuals who are disabled, I went before judges. I had to tell their story. So I was very comfortable reaching out to people, listening to them, relating their story back to someone else. That part was really easy. Then the other one was my organizational skills around business. It's the same thing. So that part felt really comfortable. It was going to be, well, I need to understand about cameras and sound and designing how this will look, so you go out like you would in any business. When you hire somebody, you hire, hopefully, people who are smarter than you are at certain aspects of the job so that you pull a team together that can create your vision.
Yeah.
And so it's the same in any business or
Did you
any
fund
endeavor.
your first film from your own savings? Did you go out and
Yes.
fundraise?
No. And I did the same with this film. So
Oh,
yeah, I'm
wow.
producing them, and yes. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh.
I know.
Yeah,
I know. It's a
right?
lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot.
Which is both a privilege and a huge risk, right?
Yes. Huge
Yeah.
risk. And it, again, I did very well financially for a long time. I was older. I had saved, and I have a very supportive husband who said, okay, you really want to do this? We're going to dip into the savings.
Bless him.
And
Wow, yeah.
that's how we'll do this. And
Yeah.
hopefully some of it will come back to us.
Yeah.
And it comes back very slowly, but it does come back. So,
Yeah.
but I wasn't in it to make money. I was in it to do it.
Right. I don't think anybody goes into documentary filmmaking to make money.
No.
Right?
I mean, if I could get my money back, I'd be thrilled. That will be at some point, maybe that will be lovely. But I'm not uber rich. So, it takes planning and it takes budgeting. Like I had to set budgets for both of my films and try to stay within those budgets, which I did. But it's a very logical process.
Yeah.
And I don't want to, if any of your listeners are contemplating making a film, there are ways of raising money to do that. There are many ways and many avenues to find out that information. So if there's anybody out there that wants to know, I have a whole list of ways that you can go about funding a film.
Wow. I'm just fascinated and love your whole journey. And I'm thinking about, let's call it the return on investment, right? You've taken your own money and you've invested into this. You're hoping to get it back. But there's another, I think, return on investment, which is what you've learned and how you've grown as a person, right? Can you speak to what that's been?
Yeah. It's like this release that, when you've been on, I always call it the train that I was on in life. You have kids, you have school, you have jobs, and it's crazy for a long time. And I always felt like I was on this fast train.
Right.
And it wasn't, again, I was still on it. And it was when I was 65 and I'm like, what am I doing on this train? I don't need to go this fast anymore. I don't have to do this. There are other things that I could do. So when I figured out what that other thing was, and when I started to do it, it was this release, an emotional kind of a release, an unveiling of, oh my gosh, you're more creative than I thought you were, meaning me. And how much more interesting it is to dip into your creative than it is to just go to a job every day. And it's not that I hated my job. I didn't. But I had passed my life there. You know what I mean? I could do it in my sleep. It was easy. It was, I had great teams. And so maybe it was time for me to let this other person, younger person, do what I was doing and work her way up to 65 and figure out what she wants to do next. So it was like this release of, wow, you really do. Everybody has creativity inside of them. So let's tap into it and see where it goes. And mine, I wanted to see if it was in film. And I believe right now that it is. And it's so much fun. When you're having so much fun at work, even when it's hard, that's when you know, okay, this is the right thing to be doing. This is the
Yeah.
right thing.
Do you feel like kind of like you're unretired almost? Like,
Yeah, the word retire is like so weird to me.
yeah,
And it always has been because it is equated with end. It is equated with moving somewhere and playing golf or, I maybe volunteering on Tuesdays. I don't know. But it has a strange connotation to it that I don't do well with.
some people take the money that they've made when they go into retirement and they travel or
Right.
they do, but you're having so much fun doing what you're doing.
Yeah. And I'm still traveling with my husband in between. So
Wow.
we're still doing that as well. But if people say, oh, you're retired, no, I'm making films. I'm not
Right.
retired. I quit my job. I didn't retire from it.
Yeah.
I actually went in and said, I'm giving my notice. So to me, it's not a retire. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's such a strange concept to me. And
Yeah.
I never thought about it until I was in the process of leaving that job and people started saying, oh, you're retiring. I'm like, well, not really. I'm moving on to something new.
Did you ever, when you were younger, when you were in your, let's say, let's put you back to your 40s or 50s, did you ever think that you were going to retire, or did you just see yourself maybe staying where you were or doing something similar to what you were doing until as long as you could? Or what was your thought for your future then?
I have to be honest with you. I didn't think about it.
Mhm.
It was like it wasn't going to happen. And maybe that was me psychologically saying I'm never going to get old. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I don't know, but I didn't sit around and think about it. I didn't have a plan. My husband and I are similar in that way, where we've never sat down like many couples we know. On this date, we're moving to this place. Well, no, we're
Mhm.
still here, and I guess we're going to stay here. We don't have one of those desires to, because we're this age, we should live here.
Right.
It's never happened.
Yeah.
We'll just travel around to places that we want to go to. And maybe when we're 90, we'll move somewhere. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. But I really didn't think about it. I guess I thought I would just continue to do that for a very long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What have you learned about yourself in the past couple of years since we last spoke?
That I never should have sweated all the stuff that I sweated when I was younger, that everything comes in time, that I've learned more patience. Now, people that know me really well will laugh at that because I am a very impatient person. I want things to happen quickly. I like them to move fast. I like everybody around me to move fast. And I realize that not everybody moves the way I do.
Mhm.
And when I look back, I've apologized to many people in my life when I've said, "Oh man, that must have been difficult." And they were like, "Well, you kept us on task, that's for sure." Um, but now I don't feel that way. And if I'm working with a team of people, young people in film, and they need a break or they need to slow down or they're explaining why they can't, I'm so much better at saying, "Okay, so what if it doesn't happen tomorrow? So what if it happens in a month? Really? So what?"
Yeah.
And I would not have said that before. So I've learned a great deal of patience, and I hope that that continues. So I don't continue to drive the people around me crazy with what I want to do.
Between your first film, Beyond 60, and Climbing into Life, your second film, what was the growth for you like as a filmmaker? Did you do anything differently process wise or
Mhm.
learn any new and improved ways of doing things that eased the way for you with the
The
second
second
time
film.
around?
Yes, absolutely. And in between these two films was COVID. And it slowed the distribution of the first film. I
Mhm.
didn't, I finished film festivals in 2019, for Beyond 60. But it took me till 2021 to get it distributed because of COVID, really. So during that time, I really wasn't able to film, although at the end of COVID is when I met Dierdre and began investigating whether or not I wanted to film her. What I learned during, again, a lot of patience during that time, I learned that I was able on this next film to produce it myself, meaning that I would not hire a production company to do all the production work. I would hire people as needed, like the climbing videographer, like the sound and camera guy the day that we were at her house. So I brought people in as I needed them, but I did all the management of that, the call sheets, the hiring, all of that I did myself.
Yeah, because you
ton.
did hire the first time through to make up for the skills you didn't know about, and then you
Yes.
learned them
Yes.
via like watching and
Right.
experiencing it that first time through. That makes total
Yeah.
sense.
So it was just a easier process this time, knowing what I was getting into, and that I was really in control of managing the day to day, and it worked out very well, very, very well, and probably saved me a whole boatload of money.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah.
How did you meet Dierdre, and what was the process like for deciding whether or not you wanted to go ahead and make this film?
Well, it was COVID, and I was scrolling around on social media. I did a lot of that back then. And there was somebody was talking about her. There was, somebody had said, oh, she wrote this book and she's the oldest woman to climb El Cap. And I just left a comment that said, wow, this would make a great movie. I just left it there. I wasn't even considering it. And the next day, Dierdre chimed in on my comment and said, are you a filmmaker? And I wrote back, yes, I am. Well, we should talk. So beginning the next day, we got on Zoom. And for 3 months, we talked on Zoom.
Wow.
Me here in Pennsylvania and her, and she was in California.
Yeah, she's amazing. I can totally see that happening. And she's a person who makes things happen.
Yeah.
Isn't she?
Unbelievable tenacity.
Yeah.
I've never met anybody like her. Never.
Yeah.
And I've met a lot of people. So, we talked about it, and I told her, my vision, what it would be like. And she agreed. And then I had to get a crew, and get everybody together and fly out to California. And we spent the first 5 days in Yosemite, filming her there. Got to film, her son is in the film as well, Alex Honnold. If anybody's seen Free Solo, that's her son. And I got a couple of cameos with him. And yeah, and then we went to her house and the climbing gym in Sacramento, finished there, came back and started the long road of editing.
So how many filming days did you have with her out there?
A week.
A week.
Yeah.
Wow.
We did it in a week.
So all the filming
Yep.
for all the footage that's in the film is 1 week.
Yes.
Wow.
And I got it down to 54 minutes. So yeah. And
That
it's
is
good. It's
wild.
really, I mean, it's such an inspirational film. And I'm telling you that because that's what everybody that watches it will tell me.
I mean, the two of you, just both of you, just in your own fields, completely blow me away.
I know it's an interesting duo.
It
when you
is an
put us-
interesting
because
duo.
what everybody gloms onto is, well, this is your story too. This is your story and Dierdre's story about an older woman doing something completely different than they have ever done before and being successful at it.
That's what's so inspiring about her story is what I find so inspiring about her story, and I'm tearing up right now, is that she didn't even see herself as an athlete.
No.
She thought she could, from the time she started running, she didn't even think she could run.
Right.
And then to start climbing in her late 50s. Oh my gosh. So when you mentioned that it's a week of filming and you got it down to what timing for the movie?
54 minutes.
54 minutes. how much actual footage? What did you narrowed it down to 54 minutes of footage
I
from
think
what?
I think it was a tight 10 hours of footage. So,
Wow.
or 9 3/4, something like that. Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah.
I can only imagine what that
Yeah.
editing process must have been
And, you
like.
know, and I compare that to the first film where I had 80 hours of footage because I interviewed 9 women.
Yeah.
So, you know, sometimes I think I did this backwards. I did the hardest one first. And then this one seemed kind of like one person, that's it. This is going to be a breeze. So, yeah, it is interesting how you put together the film and how long, it's amazing how long it takes. And I
Yeah.
had a couple of focus groups in the early stages of putting it together. What do you think of this? What do you think of that? And they would inevitably point out the things that I was having trouble with. So I knew, okay, I've got to move that, take this. So it's very helpful to share it with people and get ideas from them. So
Yeah.
that's why it takes so long. But, you know, I met people this weekend, filmmakers, and one of them said it took me 7 years to finish my documentary. And another one told me it took 5.5 years. And so I know if you can do it in 1.5 to 2.5 years, it's pretty quick. That's pretty
Yeah.
quick for a doc.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible. So here you are, and you're 74 years old, and you
Mhm.
are on a grueling schedule for travel right now and promotion, I imagine.
Mhm.
Um, how does it feel?
It feels good. I mean, to be with the audience and to know that they're getting something from it, that's what it's about.
Yeah.
I mean, I haven't seen a bad review. I'm sure there's somebody that will watch it and say, yeah, that was okay. You know,
Mhm.
but 99% of the people that come up to me afterwards all have the same kind of messaging. So you know you've put the story out in a way that's meaningful to people. And that's what it's all about. You know, you want them to think about their own possibilities. And it doesn't have to be climbing a mountain. Heck, I'm not going to climb the mountain.
Right?
No
Yeah.
way. No
Yeah.
way. It doesn't have to be making a film. It could be designing and growing a garden that you've never done, or taking up painting, or
Mhm.
writing a book, or whatever it is that you're curious about that would be creative is good for your soul. It's really good for your soul to do
Mm.
that. So, you know,
You
I
are
feel
speaking my
different.
language, lady.
I feel, yeah, I feel different now than I used to feel. More fulfilled, maybe.
Yeah.
And
Do you feel
yeah,
more energetic?
yes. Most days, not every day.
Yeah.
But, you know, I wake up tired, but yeah, just more excited about life and its possibilities and knowing maybe there's something after this. I don't know how many more films I'll make.
Yeah.
No idea at this point. And it could be that one day I wake up and say, you know what? I'm kind of done with that. And I really want to try this.
I'm so glad you said that, because I think too that, we start to go down a road and we put an investment of time and energy into something, and then you feel like that you've got to keep going with that because that's the road you're on. And if you quit, what does that mean? And, all those things.
Most of the things that stop us in our tracks from doing anything else is more the messaging that we've seen and heard
Mm.
in our past about, well, you trained to be a doctor, so you should continue. Of course, you're going to be a doctor forever. Well, what if they don't want to? Can you imagine the skill sets that a doctor has if they could parlay into 100 different things? It's messaging, I think, that holds us back, or
Mhm.
thinking that, oh, we'll be seen as a failure if we leave this because it was good and people viewed it as good.
Or people think we're crazy.
People, yeah, oh yeah,
Right?
and I'm
Like,
sure.
how can you leave that after why would you do that? Why would you take that risk? Why would
And I've
you?
heard people say that. I've heard
Yeah.
it. But I mean, that's them. And why do we listen to them? Why have we listened to those messages all those years in our lives? Why? Because it's kind of like it's just a thing in our society where people place value on what your position is or how well you're doing in that position. And
Mhm.
if you jump away from that and do something that seems a little bit outlandish and completely opposite of what you were doing, there is curiosity and maybe some, negative judgment about doing that. So it's getting to the point in age where I don't care what people think. You get to a point where, so what? If it's serving me well and it makes me feel good and it makes other people feel good, I don't care what they have to say. But 10 years ago, maybe I would have.
Yeah.
So that's been another learning that has come from being older, is that what does it matter what other people think? What do you think? And what do the people closest to you think?
And do you even know what you think?
Because
Or
sometimes you
is the
don't.
messaging so in charge of you that you just think what you've been told you're supposed to think? Like, if we could all
Yeah,
just stop for a few minutes and give ourselves a little space to become aware of what's really inside us.
right.
It's hard though. It's scary work.
It is, I mean, it is scary. And I mean, there's fear in change. There's always fear that you might fail. But again, as you get older, it's like, so what if I fail? I've failed before and I fixed it and I learned from it. And then when the next time I did it, it was much better than the first time. So you get to that point where, okay, if the first film had bombed and it was awful, I think I would have known it was awful. And I think I would have said, okay, well, at least I tried.
And it wasn't. It was
And
wonderful, by the
maybe
way.
this isn't it. Maybe I need a paintbrush maybe I should learn music. I don't know. But you have to try things and you have to get through that fear. And Dierdre is a great reminder to all of us of that possibility exists, that she is a 73-year-old woman. She just turned 73 the other day, and she just climbed on her birthday again, another peak in Yosemite with the videographer that did the film Climbing into Life. And they sent me a clip. It was awesome.
Oh, that's
And
fantastic.
she just reminds me every day
Yeah.
that if you take it at your speed, no matter how old you are, you can do it. You won't be as fast as a youngster, but who cares? But you're completing something that energizes you and gives you great pleasure, which is what she continues to do. And I imagine I'll see her climbing in her 80s, I imagine. And I imagine she'll be a little slower than she
Yeah.
is today.
Yeah.
But that's what she loves,
I
you
can
know?
see it. I can see it.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's that thing of like, if being able to, when we see something, it's like evidence, hopefully people see her do it and they see something for themselves in that,
Mm-hmm.
you know.
And it's not about go climb. And I heard that from so many audience members in the last month or so. It's like, whoa, I need to get myself in gear. There are things I've been putting off. I'm 75. I've had these ideas. I think I'm going to go home and make the list and figure out, what am I going to try?
Yeah.
Or someone else came up to me and said, you just gave me so much oomph. And she was, I think, 80. She said, I am going to go home and design this community garden that I've wanted to design and bring the community in and start building this. And I'm like, see, it could be anything.
I just got the chills. That's
yeah,
fantastic.
yeah. So, nobody walks away thinking that they're going to go rope themselves up and climb El Capitan, but they get the message that it's
Yeah.
never too late. It's never too late to do something new. Never.
Love it. Wow. You are so inspiring to me. Dierdre is so inspiring to me. Thank you for making this film. Thank you for making Beyond 60 as well, and for showing us the way to whatever's next.
I know.
I'm getting all
I
teary and
know.
verklempt. At what point do you think you're going to be into distribution where the general public can find the film? And is
Yeah.
there anything in the works for that?
Well, I've just slowly started interviewing, researching distributors. I still am waiting for a few more film festivals that will go into early next year
Okay.
if I get into them. I don't get into all of them, believe it or not. And I would hope by mid next year I'll have some kind of a feel for how will I get this on the streaming platforms. The way the Beyond 60 got on was through a distributor. I'm going to try to self-distribute this time.
Yeah.
So it's a little cleaner financially. But like Beyond 60 is on Apple TV and Prime Video and Tubi and Vimeo. It's on all of those platforms that people can find it. So I'm hoping for the same for Climbing into Life.
That's so exciting. Off the top of your head, are there any festivals that are going to be coming up that we could direct people to?
The LA FEMME, FEMME Film Festival in Los Angeles is October 27th, which is a Sunday. And I would love, if there's anybody in LA, come on, I'll be there to do the Q&A. So that would be a lot of fun.
Very cool. Very
Yeah.
cool. And people can find more information later on down the line about the film on climbingintolife.com. Is that right?
Well, no, it's melissadavey.com.
Okay.
So melissadavey.com, take you to the website, has both films on it and information about the films and where you can find Beyond 60 and where we're screening next for Climbing into Life.
And you're on
Yeah.
Instagram as Climbing into Life, right?
Yeah, Instagram, Facebook for both films. They each have their own pages. So they're pretty easy to find.
Fantastic. I will
Yeah.
put links in the show notes for anybody. And so if you're as curious as I am, I'm dying to see this film.
I know.
I'm so
I
excited.
can't wait for you to see it.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming back to
Thank
talk
you.
with me. And I'm so glad that we have gotten to know each other.
I know, me too. I feel like we're old friends.
Me too.
Hopefully one of these days it will be face to face.
That would be fantastic.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much.
Well, there you have it. I hope Melissa's story has left you feeling inspired to pursue your own passions, pull on that thread of interest, no matter where you are in life. Her journey shows us that it's never too late to pivot, try something new, or just dive deeper into what truly lights you up. One of the biggest takeaways from this conversation for me is that creativity is absolutely not limited by age. It is fueled by it. Melissa's courage to step into filmmaking at 65 and her ongoing success. What a beautiful reminder that reinvention can happen at any time, really. If you've been sitting on a dream or feeling like it's too late, I encourage you to take that first step and just see where it leads. Speaking of tapping into your creativity, I'd love to invite you to my upcoming play shop, Unlocking Playfulness, on October 19th. That's this coming Saturday. It goes from 10:30 to 12:30 Eastern Time. And it's a chance to connect with your sense of play and unlock more joy in your life. And hey, if you're listening to this episode after that date, no worries. I host the play shop every few months, so you can sign up for the wait list if you miss it this time. Either way, if you want information on that, go to latebloomerliving.com/play. Thank you so much for being here with me and listening. I'll see you next week. And until then, always be blooming and bloom like you mean it.